Today I wanted to discuss something I've been thinking about a lot in terms of indie development. And one of the things that I think is important is to understand the difference in designing for depth and breadth. And so there's an interesting article, I have it right here, in the October 2012 Game Developer Magazine. It's called Depth versus Breadth, and it's by Damon Schubert. And basically, you can read it if you're interested, but I think specifically when it applied to indie games, it's even more important because the idea is basically you can create a game with a limited number of mechanics and a limited number of setups, and then really explore them fully and polish them and create an outstanding game that way. Or you can do a whole bunch of different things, but usually the trade-off is you're not going to do the whole bunch of different things as well. So a good example of this is if you look at a game like World of Goo or Braid, I feel like they figured out what made their game special, and then they did that aspect of it really well and polished the crap out of that. And then, of course, the other aspects of the games are all really great, but basically everything feeds back into the main core mechanics. And then, to contrast that, you can look at a game like Retro City Rampage, which I think is a phenomenal game, but basically there's so much content there. It definitely is a breadth first, I think Brian focused on getting everything he could possibly think of in the game, and I think the game turned out super well, but I think that it took him a really long time. Certainly, I think he said he was working on it for, I don't know, 6 or 10 years if you include the his original NES implementation. So I think the secret to successful indie development is to really focus on depth in terms of your game design, but also to really hone in on that and cut everything else. Because if you look at a game like Retrograde, and if you heard my GDC postmortem, one of the main things I said is, we did all this extra stuff, this graphical polish and these challenge modes and concept art and all this stuff, but it was just extra stuff. It didn't enhance the core rhythm-based gameplay, and I think that was one of the problems, is we focused on breadth. We wanted to do all sorts of different cool things in the DJ mode and all this other stuff. We just threw everything in there. But I think we would have been better served if we instead took a razor focus and just figured out what makes our game special, why would people want to play our game versus another game, what's so interesting about that, and then focus all our development effort on that. And certainly I think games are a whole package experience. You can't, not have graphics. You can't make, Retrograde with ASCII art and expect it to have the same level of fun. But I think if we took that approach, the game would be better served for it. And so certainly with my current project, that's what I'm trying to do. Basically, I started with, what game do I want to make? If I could make anything, what game would I make? And then I, had a whole bunch of ideas. I always keep ideas, and I've been collecting ideas since like high school of games that I would like to make. And then I picked out my favorite ideas of things I thought that would be most interesting to me to work on, the things that I'd most like to work on. And then, of course, it's like fully realized 3D, AAA voice acting, just completely way out of the scope of independent development. But then what I did was I took that focus and I said, okay, what makes this game idea special? Why do I like this game idea so much? And then I focused in on that, and then basically I tried to remove every single element that wasn't completely essential for building the game that I want to make, the game that I'm dreaming of. And so it's definitely tricky because you have to, cut a lot of stuff that you feel like, oh, this is great, and, this is a really neat idea, but basically I think you're not going to get your game done if you don't take this approach. And the other thing is you can always add some more breadth or add some more things later, but you want to make sure your core is as great as it can be. So it's definitely, I think, an important lesson I've learned, and it's definitely an important approach to independent game development, is basically what can this game live without, what can't this game live without, and then focus your energies on that.